start by talking about Labour's polling lead, or lack thereof. So the latest poll that's come out and it was conducted between the 5th and 7th of this month, and it puts Labour on 29% of the vote and the Conservatives on 28% of the vote. Now, that really is a shocking state of affairs for the Prime Minister to find himself in. Nigel Farage is now more popular than the Prime Minister. I mean, Charlie, were you expecting Labour to tumble from the hearts and minds of the British public quite so fast?
Well, no, I wasn't. But I don't think anyone was expecting it to happen so fast. I think we always thought that it would happen. I mean, unfortunately, obviously, for understandable reasons, the electorate didn't want to listen to the Conservatives. They didn't want to hear what they had to say at the last election because they'd failed in so many areas, not least of all on immigration. So we'd lost the ear of the electorate. But anyone who was a Conservative was saying to anyone who would listen, until you're blue in the face, that, Labour are going to put up taxes. They're going to choke off growth in terms of the economy, scrapping the Rwanda plan, whatever you thought about it. At least it was a deterrent that, a lot of hardworking people, came to a conclusion that would be some sort of deterrent. It was something at least. But that having been scrapped on day one, as I say, choking off the economy. And now we're seeing things that it weren't even in the manifesto, picking, the pockets of poor pensioners in this country. There's no surprise that, they've plummeted in terms of opinion polls. But you're right, for them to see that play out so soon, I don't think anybody would have predicted that. But there you are. That's what you get with a Labour government.
Yeah, I mean, Chloe, Charlie's right on the fact that people were told all of this, people were warned, but it probably says something about how far the Conservative Party had fallen out of favour with the British public, that they said, listen, I'm hearing all of this, but I'm just totally tuned out, right? I don't care. I just want a change of government, and if that means I have to vote for this robo-Starmer, then so be it.
Well, I mean, I think there are a couple of different mindsets that voters had going into this. You had some people who maybe thought that Labour were going to do these things, but thought, well, anything's better than the Conservatives. Then you had people who didn't even bother to look, really, at what Labour were proposing and just thought, they ain't those evil Tories, I'll put a tick in the box for them. I think that accounted for a lot of people in the polling that we have as to the reasons why people voted Labour. Seems to show that people just voted for them because they're not the Tories. And then you've got people who may have voted for them because they genuinely liked the policies that they were proposing, but the policies that they were proposing were pretty much all lies. We're going to fix every problem, don't worry, we'll fix the NHS, we'll fix the trains, we'll fix your energy prices, we'll fix it all, don't worry, we've got a magic money tree. And some people fell for that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Eunice, on that point of Nigel Farage becoming more, well, just as, I think the polling's pretty much there, the unpopularity, the unfavourability. Nigel Farage is considered quite a divisive person in some quarters. Yeah. I don't really pick that up, but, in some parts of the country, he wouldn't do as well as others. I think that's safe to say. But now, Keir Starmer is exactly the same when you look at the polling. Like, that is pretty shocking.
Yeah, but also Nigel Farage doesn't get a fair shake from the mainstream media because they're adamant to make him look like this racist person that's very anti-immigrant. And I think people like Keir Starmer are protected by the establishment and by the mainstream media. And also in terms of Labour, I just never really truly understood why anyone would vote Labour in the first place, because they were going to raise taxes. And as soon as they got into power, they took the money from the pensioners and, they've been getting freebies. And the whole time, and again, I've said this before, but the only reason why Labour got elected is because the Conservatives failed for 10 years, more than 10 years, almost 9 years, I think. No, 14 years, sorry.
14, yeah, 14.
So, yeah, 14 years.
Charlie was there for all of them, I think, exactly. Judging by his face.
Yes,
by the way, I was just about to Charlie.
I've aged.
Welcome to the podcast. And yeah, for 14 years, they've been failing consecutively. And the people were just fed up. They just wanted something different. And it was almost like a bullet in the dark. They didn't really know what they were going to get. if you analyze politics, I knew exactly what type of person Keir Starmer is and what kind of policies. So we're going to go mad on this whole woke agenda, mad on this DEI agenda, pretending we're for the working class when we're actually not. So it has been a failure. And as you said, the favorability ratings for Keir Starmer is tanking every single day. And I've said this before, and this is another prediction I will make. I don't think this government's going to make it to 2029. I really don't. And I also think they're going to have a change of leadership into the next election. So,
but I mean, they've got a majority that the Tories would absolutely die for. You know, how can they? Yeah. Theresa May managed to hold on for, what was it, 2 years, Charlie, or 3 years? I forget now. Was it 3?
She was there
2 years.
Yes, 3 years.
17 to 19.
Yeah.
But she was elected leader in 2016 after the referendum.
Yeah. That's it,
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this is the media round this morning. They all go out every morning. And this is what Lisa Nandy, who is the culture secretary, this is the fiasco that she had to deal with over the freebies and free gear Keir giving back this. He gave back, what was it, 6,000 quid worth of Taylor Swift tickets. Now this is massively backfired for them, because now the public are saying, and the media, well, why don't you give back the rest of it, right? You know, you have, what was it, almost $3,000 worth of spectacles, for God's sake. You've got a bit more than $6,000 worth of Taylor Swift tickets to give back. But this is what Lisa Nandy had to say, and Kay Burley of Sly News gave a very short shrift.
Prime Minister
but if
declares
the Mayor
everything.
And the Prime Minister are going to this concert and they're some way involved in deciding, overruling the decision by the Metropolitan Police, they should stay a mile away from that concert.
Well, first of all, there's no suggestion that the Prime Minister did any such thing.
I'm sure he's aware of it.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know, and I don't think you know either. But there's no suggestion that that's what
I know.
Okay, well, you know, you may know things that I don't know, Kay, in which case you can clear that up for the viewers. But there is no suggestion in the Sun article that the Prime Minister did any such thing. The Mayor was transparent and open about declaring what he did, and he doesn't have the power.
The Prime Minister did not know that she was going to get a blue light motion.
No, I'm not trying to get you to believe anything. I've just said to you, I haven't had a conversation with him or with the Home Secretary, but what I can tell you is that neither the Prime Minister nor the Home Secretary nor the Mayor of London has the power to override the police on this matter. It is an operational decision for the police. Pardon?
They can ask them to reconsider.
Well, they can put their own view. That's certainly the case. But you would expect the Home Secretary and the Mayor of the city where this event is taking place, given the history of what had just happened in Vienna, to be involved in a conversation about security arrangements. What you wouldn't expect is for them to be able to
attend the concert.
For them to be, well, I don't think that's true, actually. I mean, the Home Secretary didn't attend the concert, as far as I'm aware. But I don't think that's right.
But the Mayor of London did.
Yeah, the Mayor of
London
went
twice.
But I don't, you know, we're now in a situation where, I mean, you know, most of Sky News
tickets from Universal Music Group.
I mean, most of Sky News was at these events in these same boxes as well, to be completely fair.
Who was there?
And, well, you were there.
I paid for my tickets.
I
paid for my tickets.
Well, he's paying for his tickets.
Eventually paid for them.
But, you know, he's paying for his tickets, and he's
Eventually,
been clear
I paid
about
for mine
that because he thinks it's
8 months
important.
earlier.
But
So please don't do that.
No, but he genuinely does think it's important.
Who else went,
and he is
apart
paying
from
for
me?
it.
From Sky?
Well, I went, and I've declared that in line with the ministerial code.
But you don't work for Sky.
But your suggestion is that somehow they shouldn't be going.
That's exactly my suggestion.
My point is that as long as they declare it and are absolutely upfront about what has happened, people can judge for themselves, and people will judge for themselves. You're absolutely right.
Well, I mean, she gave, you know, Burley there gave a right basting, I guess you could say, and she was absolutely furious. But this is the mess that Sir Keir Starmer has wound the Labour government up in, where actually all these people are having to justify the fact that they went to these concerts. And then Lisa Nandy had this bright idea of saying, well, Sky News were there. Well, I don't pay for Sky News, right? Sky News are a private news corporation, and they can do whatever the hell they want. So they've got themselves in an awful mess, and I just think they're making things 10 times worse. I mean, Chloe, from a sort of PR point of view, it's insane.
I mean, it's a complete disaster. I mean, their PR game is not on point in the slightest. I mean, they've already had to get rid of Sue Gray because very quickly the chief of staff became the story, which meant that she had to go. That should not have happened this early on. Now, with this Taylor Swift situation, look, maybe Taylor Swift having all this extra protection makes sense given she's a super, super high profile person. She had attacks supposedly planned on her concerts that were meant to happen in Vienna. So maybe it's understandable. But Labour have now put themselves in this position where they've received all these freebies, that any kind of policy or anything that is proposed, everyone is going to be asking the question, are you doing this because of cronyism? Are you doing this because you got a freebie or some money from somebody? I mean, for example, Wes Streeting, different topic, but I'm sure we'll see it happen. As he starts bringing in more policies for reforming the NHS, the question's going to keep being asked. Oh, we know that you were given about 170 grand in donations from people linked to private medical companies. Are you making this decision because of cronyism, right? Even if it's the best policy for the NHS and it actually makes sense, and it wasn't because of that. People are going to ask that question. They're going to keep getting attacked by the media. I really don't see this problem going away. And the fact that it has lasted longer than a week kind of shows that it's not going anywhere. I mean, they had nightmares with the whole Angela Rayner housing scandal earlier in the year, and they couldn't seem to get that to go away for ages. And once it did, now this has all come up. They're not having an easy time on the PR front, it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, Eunice, you mentioned there that you think this is a government that's going down like the Titanic, but, even if it's not, it's certainly, I never thought it would look like a one-term government quite so fast.
No, I think I always knew from the beginning, because I feel like their leaders are incompetent. I think the Keir Starmer done a relatively good job of bringing the party back to the center, because after Jeremy Corbyn, Labour was almost like a far left party. So in those terms, he done well. But then when I looked at his cabinet and I saw, Angela Rayner and all these incompetent
David
people
Lammy.
that are in the, at MPs, and I just thought this guy, and also, as I said, they have this woke mentality, but they're very corruptible. Like, you look at the Democrats in America, they're the same with Kamala Harris and Waltz. And I think these people, they pretend to be for the working class, but in reality, they are, corrupted. They are easily corruptible. In Kamala Harris's campaign, most of the billionaires and, the military industry complex, they're all behind the Democrats and Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris is not for the little person. And I would say the same thing for Labour, because these are corporatist people. These are, they have corporations behind them. And these freebies are they're not gifts. They're more than gifts, because they give them these gifts and then they will ask for something in return. So they're a very corrupt party, and the fact that they try to portray people like Nigel Farage as corrupt because he made money legally working in GB News is just absolutely ridiculous for me.
Yes, I mean, Charlie, the point there that I made at the start about the Labour Party having made this 10 times worse, basically, I think what they've effectively done is give themselves the world's biggest zit and then decide to highlight that zit in as many ways they possibly can via some makeup. And they just keep putting on that makeup despite the fact it's making that zit redder and redder. And it ain't going anywhere. Lisa Nandy is having to sort of navigate said zit. And it's a very designer zit, it has to be said.
Well, that's an interesting analogy, way to put it. But you're right. I mean, look, the problem with, I think, the Labour Party and the Labour government is that Keir Starmer just is not a politician. And I think, when you spend years, he did very well. He's quite ruthless. Obviously, he's got rid of people. He's obviously,
Sue.
It was Sue being the latest on that list. Didn't include Emily Thornberry in the cabinet. The only shadow cabinet minister that didn't make it into the cabinet was Emily Thornberry.
Which was especially brutal because she had been in the shadow cabinet for a very long time. I think she was, if not the one of the longest serving.
I think that's right. And she was wheeled out an awful lot during the campaign to do the media and do the morning media rounds. She made, I think, a bit of a gaffe during the VAT on private schools, saying that actually if class sizes have got to go up in the short term, then she thought that was acceptable. And I don't think that would be acceptable to any parent in any school seeing their class size rising, which puts their own kids' education in jeopardy. But he is ruthless in that sense, and he's been able to get rid of the Corbynites to make the party electable again. But when it comes to actually decision making, I mean, he's just a lefty lawyer. He probably, the more that I see him day after day, he turns up at the dispatch box or he tries to make an argument, but it's clearly a lawyer presenting an argument. And instead of appealing to the masses to say how much he's going to bring change to the country, get rid of the sleaze and scandal that was under the Tories, and he'll make that case at the dispatch box. But all the while, he'll go out and, with Lord Ali on the Raz, no doubt, I should imagine, somewhere, for 5-course dinners and,
quite. I
getting
mean, I'm free. I'm available, Lord Ali. Please.
But it's one rule for him and one rule for everybody else, and that's what's so irritating amongst the public.
Exactly.
If they thought they were voting for change, or if they stayed at home because they couldn't feel that they could vote for the Tories, at least they thought under Labour that they might get someone who's actually a bit dull, a bit boring, but is probably actually quite fair. But he's not got a political bone in his body, taking winter fuel allowance from pensioners whilst increasing pay for train drivers and claiming that as a victory. And even today, in PMQ, saying what terrible economy he's been handed and what a 22 billion black hole that doesn't exist anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, he'll say that it does, whilst then trying to say all the great investment that's coming into the UK. Well, that was under a Tory record. He just doesn't do politics.
Yes, I mean, there was a very, very good moment at the dispatch box, and I don't say this often about Rishi Sunak. I almost said, do you remember when President Biden called Rishi Sunak Rashid Sunook? Sometimes that just pops into my head. Right, but anyway, so this was quite a good interaction at Prime Minister's Questions early today. And I even found myself, and I'm going to say it, I even found myself missing Rishi Sunak. That's how bad things have got, folks. You heard it here first. And I've just realised that Eunice has started to take his clothes off. It ain't that kind of stream, Eunice. When this ain't OnlyFans, you're on the wrong stream.
I have that effect on people.
Yeah. Well, one of our viewers, though, just told us she's called, where is she? Lovely Kay. She says, Darren, I'm taking you guys in the bath with me. So pleased you can't see. You die. Well, Eunice is taking his clothes off for you, Kay. So you're in good company. Anyway, let's watch this clip of Rishi Sunak at the dispatch box in Prime Minister's Questions earlier today.
Well, Mr. Speaker, when he talks about security at work, once again, it's one rule for him and another rule for everyone else. Yeah. But I know that not everything or everyone has survived his first 100 days in government. So can he confirm that when he promised not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT, that commitment applies to both employer and employee national insurance contributions?
Mr. Speaker, as he well knows, I'm not going to get drawn on decisions that will be set out. We made an absolute commitment in relation to not raising tax on working people. He, of course, was the expert's expert on raising taxes. And what did we get in return for it? We got a broken economy, broken public services, and a £22 billion black hole in the economy. We're here to stabilise the economy, and we will do so.
Get ready.
The opposition. Mr. Speaker, I don't think even Lord Ali is buying any of that nonsense.
I thought that was really rather good, to be honest. That was a very good line from Rishi Sunak.
I feel like Rishi Sunak is starting to become the opposition because I think it's been quiet for the last couple of months.
Oh,
and
yeah.
All of a
Well, he was
sudden
on
he's coming
holiday.
back to life.
He went on his Olibobs.
Yeah.
He popped off to California. I mean...
Yeah, I know.
exactly.
We had censorship at an all-time high. Everyone being chucked in prison for Facebook posts and, you know...
and he was
just
away.
Yeah, and I was like, where's the opposition? It's turning into 1984 in Britain, and Rishi Sunak is not here, not even... I know Parliament was out, but he wasn't really sort of on Twitter telling Keir Starmer that he needs to get back in line. I expect at least that, but he was quiet as a mouse.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was Nigel Farage and Reforms asking all the tough questions in Parliament for the last 2 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have had a good innings, it has to be said. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.